All right, let's just dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a scientifically backed cognitive behavioral therapy hack that is literally going to change how you tackle your to-do list. I mean, we've all been there, right? Telling ourselves, oh, I'll start tomorrow, or I'm just waiting for the right mood. But let's be real, tomorrow turns into next week, and suddenly your goals are just sitting there collecting dust. So today, we're exploring the 5-minute rule, the brain hack that destroys procrastination. And the best part? It doesn't take superhuman willpower. It literally just takes 5 minutes.
So why is starting so unbelievably hard? Picture this. You're standing there, completely frozen, just staring up at this giant looming mountain of paperwork or a huge project. That paralyzing feeling? Yeah, that's exactly what we're fixing today. Because getting started is almost always the absolute biggest barrier to making any progress. When a task feels that overwhelming, your brain actually perceives it as a literal threat and triggers a massive avoidance response. No wonder we put things off.
Here's our quick roadmap for today. 1. The procrastination problem. 2. The 5-minute solution. 3. The science of starting. 4. A step-by-step guide. And 5. Common traps to avoid.
All right, part 1, the procrastination problem. It's not laziness.
Listen, the absolute most crucial thing to understand here is that putting things off, it is not a moral failing. It's not laziness. It is fundamentally an emotional regulation issue. We procrastinate because the task feels too big, too boring, too confusing, too stressful, or just way too overwhelming. What's happening is your brain's amygdala, you know the part that processes threats? It looks at this massive, ambiguous task and goes, danger. It literally sounds the alarm. So what do? You seek immediate comfort. You start scrolling social media, or hey, suddenly the kitchen needs a deep clean, right? You're not lazy. You are just avoiding discomfort.
Which brings us to part 2, the 5-minute solution. Lowering the barrier.
Here's the secret sauce. Commit to doing the task for just 5 minutes. That's it. What's so fascinating is that this solution doesn't need some crazy elaborate planning system or expensive productivity tools. By promising yourself a tiny 5-minute window of work with total, absolute permission to stop afterward, you completely bypass your brain's alarm system. You totally remove that crushing pressure to finish the whole project, which magically lowers the barrier to entry. To your brain, 5 minutes just feels totally harmless.
There's a quote I absolutely love for this. Many people wait for motivation. Successful people create momentum. Think about that for a second. Successful people create momentum. This is a massive paradigm shift. Psychology actually shows us that action creates motivation, not the other way around. Waiting around for lightning to strike and inspiration to hit you, it's a losing game. By just starting, you generate the exact momentum you've been sitting around waiting for.
Okay, part 3. The science of starting, tricking your brain.
So let's dig into the neuroscience here, because this isn't just some clever parlor trick. First up is activation energy. Basically, this is the effort required to initiate an action, and it is always highest at the very beginning. Think about going for a run. The absolutely hardest part isn't the actual cardio, right? It's finding the willpower to just put on your shoes and walk out the front door. Writing isn't impossible. Staring at a blank blinking cursor is. The 5-minute rule works because it drastically lowers that activation threshold, making the act of beginning incredibly easy.
Then we have the Zeigarnik effect. Now this is named after psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik, and it basically says that your brain absolutely hates unfinished business. Hates it. The second you start a task for just 5 minutes, you create this mental tension in your brain. It's an open loop, and that tension naturally pushes you to want to keep working just to close that loop. It's the exact same reason why it's so ridiculously hard to stop reading a good book right in the middle of a chapter.
And get this, every time you pull off one of those 5-minute micro-commitments, you get a small win. Your brain recognizes that tiny bit of progress and releases a hit of dopamine, the motivation chemical. It feels good. That dopamine hit reinforces the behavior, transforming that initial agonizing struggle into this powerful, unstoppable momentum. You go from running away from the task to actually being completely engaged in it.
Moving on to part 4, step-by-step guide, how to execute.
So, how do we actually pull this off in real life when you're staring down a massive project? First, write down the things you've been putting off, prioritize them, and this is super important, pick just one highly specific action to focus on. Don't tell yourself, I'm going to write my essay. No way. That is way too vague and scary. Make it hyper-specific. Say, I'm going to write a single opening sentence, or I'm going to brainstorm 3 bullet points. Keep it small.
Next up, you need a timer. Set it for exactly 5 minutes.
Creating this physical structure tells your brain, hey, don't worry, this discomfort is strictly temporary. And that instantly kills the anxiety of perfectionism. Because you don't have to be perfect. You literally just have to exist in front of the task for 5 minutes. That's all.
All right, so here is your master checklist. 1. Pick one specific task. 2. Set a 5-minute timer. 3. Focus fully without distractions. I'm talking phone on Do Not Disturb, extra browser tabs closed, just focus. And 4. When that timer rings, stop or continue. You make the conscious choice to either keep riding that momentum or take a totally guilt-free break. Either choice is a total win.
Finally, Part 5. Common traps to avoid. Keeping the trust.
If you want this to work long-term, especially if you're dealing with chronic procrastination, you have to use the release valve. You absolutely must be allowed to stop when that timer goes off. If you try to use this as a psychological trick where you secretly expect yourself to work for an hour every single time, your brain is going to catch on so fast. The pressure will come roaring back, the resistance will spike, and you will completely destroy your own self-trust. You have to honor that 5-minute boundary.
Also, a quick heads up, do not confuse this with the 2-minute rule. The 2-minute rule is great, but it's for quickly knocking out tiny, easy administrative things like answering a short email, just so they don't pile up. The 5-minute rule is totally different. We are using this specifically as a targeted cognitive behavioral technique to break the emotional avoidance cycle on the heavy, intimidating tasks that actually scare us.
But here's the really beautiful reality behind all of this. About 80% of the time, once you push through that initial 5-minute psychological friction, you're going to naturally want to keep working right past the timer. Your brain gets formed up, the anxiety drops off a cliff because you realize the task actually isn't as bad as you built it up to be, and boom, that Zeigarnik effect kicks in, pushing you to cross the finish line.
Want to make this even more powerful? Try habit stacking. Basically, link your 5-minute sessions to things you already do every day. Promise yourself you'll do 5 minutes of a hard project immediately after pouring your morning coffee, or right after you brush your teeth. Connecting it to a habit you already have on autopilot builds incredible long-term consistency without even trying.
So here's my question for you. What will you spend your next 5 minutes on? You now have the ultimate hack to bypass your brain's resistance and destroy procrastination. Pick just one task you've been avoiding all day, set a timer on your phone right now, and just begin. Seriously, give it a shot. You might just be shocked at what happens when you finally give yourself permission to start.